Last minute decision to realize my light was not on, but good morning. It is match week 9. It is the last weekend of action, of full action, might I add, in the UWS. And I am excited to be covering a recap of week 8, a summary of the playoffs, which are well underway, and previewing this week 9. And I might add, I am being joined by a very exciting guest later on in this show. So stay tuned for that. But as you can see, my screen is looking a little bit bare. Jonathan and Kayla have decided that this is the weekend for vacations, and they definitely deserve it, although I didn't get the memo and I am not on vacation, so I am here to cover all things UWS. Katie is off for work in Austin, so she couldn't be here this morning, so my screen is empty, but I'm still going to make sure that we cover everything UWS for you. Send in your comments, send in your questions if you have anything brewing. And yeah, let's get started. So we'll kick things off with a recap of those standout week 8 games. Now, for me, I have a trend of doing this, and I'm going to continue it because the game I had my eye on last week is the game that I'm going to recap this week. And it was a top of the table clash between FC Buffalo and Erie Commodores in the Penn New York division. So FC Buffalo, who are in first place, hit the road to take on second place Erie Commodores in a game that could have dramatically affected the standings. And FC Buffalo took an early lead through striker Jainaba Tiam. I'm sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly. She found herself through on goal for the second time in the first 6 minutes, and this time her strength and desire to score just shone through, and she was able to slot one home for a 1-0 lead. And after going a goal down, Erie responded very quickly with a chance of their own, but FC Buffalo goalkeeper and defense came up with some really important blocks to clear the danger. And then in the 18th minute, the Buffalo defense were not quite so solid, as a rare lack in judgment from the goalkeeper allowed Erie to get back into the game. Suddenly it was 1-1, game on. Buffalo definitely appeared to be the more dominant team, in my opinion. They had a higher percentage of possession, but both teams were finding opportunities to score. And in the 32nd minute, it was TM who found the lead, restored Buffalo's lead. She found that goal scoring opportunity. A pass was played into her. She let it roll across her body, and then she absolutely rifled it into the back of the net. And honestly, the goalkeeper for Erie really had no chance to save that because of the power in TM's strike. And it was 2-1. And the remainder of the game was a back and forth affair. Both teams kind of finding opportunities again, but Buffalo's 2 goals were enough for them to secure a huge 3 points. And the Lancers are now on their hot tails. They took down the Hotspurs by 2-0 and moved into second place in the standings, capitalizing on Erie dropping some points. And they now sit with the same number of points as FC Buffalo, but FC Buffalo remain in first place on goal difference. That was the Penn New York division. Now, are you ready for some more recap? Because over in the West, my eye was also looking to the SC Blue Heat versus LASC game. So this game took place on Saturday, July 2nd, and it was a really crazy start to the game. SC Blue Heat were seriously ready for this one. Right out of the gates, Alyssa Thompson, who has returned now from international duty with the under-23 US youth national team, she showed her speed and control of the ball, driving almost half of the field before finding teammate Angie Escobar, who squeaked a shot into the near post and gave her side a 1-0 lead after just 2 minutes. Now, to put this into perspective, one of the commentators didn't actually have the chance to even say anything about the game before FC Blue Heat had scored. This goal happened seriously quick. The game was kind of like flipped on their head because LASC were just trying to settle in, and Alyssa Thompson was straight out of the gates, driving with that ball, causing problems, and Angie Escobar does not miss from that kind of range. And then just 5 minutes later, FC Blue Heat were able to make it a 2-goal lead as Giselle Thompson's blocked shot fell to the feet of Angie Escobar, and she made it 2-0. So both the Thompson sisters having a major impact in that first few minutes of this game. And LASC really left just flabbergasted. The SC Blue Heat had come right out of the gates and within 8 minutes had a 2-0 lead. But despite the slow start, LASC were able to get themselves back in the game with a beautiful strike from range. Alexandra Hargraves saw that the Blue Heat goalkeeper was off her line and tried one from range, and it was their first opportunity of the game, and she made it 2-1. Game on, I thought, but SC Blue Heat really did not seem fazed by conceding. They continued to dominate possession. They quickly restored their 2-goal advantage. Ali Lemos found the back of the net from a pass by Angie Escobar. And so after that seriously crazy first 20 minutes where we had 3 goals being scored, a scoreline of 2-1, both teams kind of settled in. And for the remaining 70 minutes, everything remained scoreless. But having said that, Blue Heat definitely looked more like the side that I saw in that national championship last year. They were moving the ball very quickly. The speed, the fitness, the control, everything just looked really tuned up in this matchup. And I'm wondering if that's because they've had some key players missing as they've been out on international duty. And so almost their talented roster has hindered them in the UWS because players are so talented that they've been called up to represent their national team, which is an incredible honor. We are so proud of all the players across the UWS, current and former, who have been called up to represent their teams. But in the case of SC Blue Heat, their roster has been smaller. And whether we talk about it being the talent that's missing or just a smaller squad, which means less rotation, harder to put on those practices. Maybe you can't have a full 11-a-side game at practice due to the numbers because players are off on international duty. There's so many factors that play into it that I am wondering at this point in the season if that has really played into them dropping some of these matches and at the end of the day not qualifying for the national championship, which they won last year. So quite a shock to a lot of fans in the UWS, but that's a factor that definitely could have contributed to that outcome. So those were the 2 major games in week 8 that really caught my attention. But we also had a lot of regular season champions being named in week 8. So in the Central Conference, we had Corktown AFC being named regular season champions. They finished with a 6-0-2 record, tying their last regular season games. They tied against Nationals FC and against Michigan Jaguars. So that was a little bit surprising the way that they finished out their season, given the excellent start that they had with 6 straight wins. But at the end of the day, they took care of business. Michigan Jaguars and Nationals, both new teams in that UWS. So unsurprising that it took maybe a few weeks for them to adjust. But I think that this conference is going to be really, really interesting in the coming years. And I just want to correct myself. I think I said Central Conference champions. They are Great Lakes Division champions. Sorry. So Corktown FC, regular season champions of the Great Lakes Division. Then over in that Heartland Division, KC Courage have been named the regular season Heartland Division champions, finishing with a 6-1-1 record. Now, their only loss came back at the beginning of the season on May 22nd, where they lost a game to Side FC, which was at the time, a good result for Side FC, not too shocking. But now we look back on it and we're like, wow, Side FC really pulled that one out of the bag because KC Courage have looked so solid all season. And then KC Courage also dropped some points against Gretna Elite. They tied with Gretna Elite 0-0 on June 18th. So indications there is that KC Courage, they are beatable. That Side FC did it. They can be held to shutouts. Gretna Elite did it. But having said that, they're in some really great form right now. I know Kayla is a massive fan of KC Courage. He wants to see them right at the top in the power rankings. So they are a top quality team and they're definitely going to be one to watch. In the Midwest Division, the regular season champions are Chicago Mustangs. They finished the season with a 7-0-1 record, with St. Louis Scott Gallagher leaving that blemish in their near perfect record. So St. Louis Scott Gallagher and Chicago Mustangs played on June 18th to a 1-1 tie, which is that blemish in Chicago Mustangs record. But let it be said, Chicago Mustangs have scored 60 goals this season and only conceded 4. That is extremely impressive. Across the regular season, they have just been killing it in the attack, but also solidifying in that defense. But they also haven't had the most competitive matchups when it comes to their regular season. They've had some really big goal differential results. We talked about that 20-0 result. So how does that play into preparations when it comes to playoffs? Are they disadvantaged when they go against that Heartland Division champion? If we'll get to that later, if they make it or not. But are they challenged because or at a disadvantage because they haven't been challenged as much in their regular season? When you look at somebody like Casey Courage, who every game is a must-win game. Every game you cannot sleep because the opposition could beat you. And the Mustangs haven't really felt that because a lot of their games have been what we tend to deem as blowouts. So that's an interesting one to think about. But interestingly enough, it was June 18th where both Chicago Mustangs and Casey Courage dropped points. So I don't know what it was about that weekend. And over in the East Conference, we have the Mid-Atlantic Division, which is still playing. So no regular season champs have been crowned just yet. All the action is taking place this weekend. Lancaster Inferno are sat atop of that table with 25 points, an 8-0-1 record. And Coppermine United are there in second place with 22 points and a 7-1-1 record. Now, it's probably going to be set between these two teams. Coppermine actually dropped some points in the midweek action against Keystone, which was a big upset. We did speak about this last week in the show about how is Coppermine going to approach these games. So they had Keystone midweek and then 2 back-to-back games against Lancaster Inferno. So that midweek game, they're coming up against Keystone. Keystone are bottom of the table in the Mid-Atlantic Division, but every game is a must-win game at this point. And did Coppermine go into this game with a little bit of a lackadaisical mentality, maybe a little bit of overconfidence that game they were going to win, and it was the Coppermine, the Lancaster ones that they really needed to focus on, and they ended up slipping up. So Keystone took down Coppermine 3-1, I believe it was, and so that really puts the pressure on Coppermine this weekend as they go up against Lancaster and alleviate some pressure from Lancaster because the perfect record of Coppermine came to an end. So it's going to be interesting. And Lancaster and Coppermine played each other last night. The two teams played to a 1-1 draw. Make sure you tune in on Sunday because those two teams will be back at it again in their final battle of the regular season. We'll be seeing who's going to be crowned that regular season champion. So Sunday, kicking off at 5 p.m. Eastern time, Lancaster Inferno versus Coppermine United. And you can catch that game on 11 Sports. Now, heading on into that New England division, we've got matches still being played here. You know, the regular season champions have not been crowned yet. However, let's recap this table, and as you'll be able to see, it's probably going to be the New England Mutiny who'll be taking that regular season title. They sit atop of the table with 24 points, 8-1-0 record. In second place, you've got Connecticut Fusion, 17 points, 5-2-2 record. Third place, Albany Rush, 16 points, 5-3-1. Scorpions SC, 15 points, 5-4-0 record. CT Rush, 7 points, 2-6-1 record. And lastly, Worcester Smiles, who have not been able to find that all-important win this season, are currently sat on 0-9. So New England Mutiny, set to be crowned regular season champions, that 8-0-1 record. But that one loss, it did come right back on early in the season against CT Fusion. CT Fusion defeated them by a score of 2-1. And then since that game, I've kind of had a roller coaster ride. And once again, we have spoken about this on the show multiple times where we just don't know really what is going on with CT Fusion. Like, we don't know what to expect from them. They kind of seem to keep the light on. They're going through the season. They're earning some good points and keeping their toe in the water, ready to pounce on the opportunity to be in the playoffs. But have they left it too late? We don't know. Last year, we thought they might have, and then they came all the way through to the championship game. So you never know what's going to happen, but it looks like they have lost out on the regular season title this season, which they didn't win that last year either, but they ended up going all the way to the Nationals. So anything can happen, but New England Mutiny are a very, very solid team. They're on a really good run right now, so they're going to be a team to watch when it comes to those playoffs. And keeping in that East Conference, we move over to the Penn New York division, which is also still playing. And it looks like there's going to be quite the battle between FC Buffalo and Rochester Lancers. So let's recap this table. We've got FC Buffalo, 20 points, 6-1-2 record. Rochester Lancers, 20 points, 6-1-2 record. Erie Commodores, 15 points, 4-1-3 record. And then FC Berlin, 0-6-3 record. And sat in that fifth spot is Pittsburgh Hotspurs with a 0-7-2 record, 2 points. But Pittsburgh Hotspurs, like we've discussed in this Penn New York division, they're an extremely difficult team to beat. They just haven't been able to get those results this season. So everybody in this division is a tough team to go against. And what we can see from those standings is that it looks like it's coming down to FC Buffalo and Rochester Lancers. They've got the same points, they've got the same record, and they both have games this weekend. Now, it's goal differential that is keeping FC Buffalo in that number one spot. And FC Buffalo will play tonight against the Pittsburgh Hotspurs. So potentially they might be looking at this matchup thinking this is an opportunity for us to get 3 points and to really score some goals. We do know that Pittsburgh Hotspurs, they're likely to concede, but also they are likely to put one on you too. They're a difficult team to beat, although I think they have the easier matchup out of FC Buffalo and Rochester Lancers, because the Lancers are playing against Erie Commodores on Sunday. Now, this is going to be a really interesting matchup on the Sunday because ultimately Erie on 15 points are no longer in that regular season title race anymore. And really that came because they dropped those 3 points against FC Buffalo last weekend and because Rochester Lancers got the 3 points. So Erie is going to have a point to prove. They want to take second and they want to push. They want to show that they should have been right up there in taking that championship. So I think that this is not going to be an easy game for Rochester Lancers. If I was playing in it, I think that Buffalo have the better matchup, I guess, to be able to secure that regular season title. But both games are going to be interesting. So FC Buffalo tonight against Hotspurs and Lancers on Sunday against the Commodores. Now, moving it down south, we've got the Southeast Division where the regular season champions are the Atlanta Panthers. They finished with a perfect record, 6-0. But given the condensed schedule of the Southeast Division, now they've had a little bit of a rough time in the Southeast Division. The Panthers really haven't had a full season of games. And look at this how you want, because you could say, wow, what an advantage, because the South representative from the Southeast is going to go up against somebody, the champion from the Southwest. Now, the Southwest division has had an extremely packed, extremely competitive schedule. Does that mean that the Panthers are well rested? They're in better physical conditions to be able to go into this game with those fresh legs? Maybe. Or does it mean that the Panthers have not really had a chance to play against some really competitive teams, to not get that fitness in, to not get those mental tests where you're really facing adversity and seeing how do we come together as a team and overcome these results? And so, they have had a couple of tough games against Atlanta Fire. They've played in that high pressure situation of a big rivalry game in Atlanta. But I do think that it's going to be very interesting to see how the Panthers handle playoff situations, because they haven't really had the opportunity. But maybe it'll play to their advantage. Who knows? Speaking of, we've got a comment coming in. Harley Ford, playoffs are always so interesting, especially when we see traditionally solid teams enter against difficult and well-tested competition. Completely agree. It is such a high-pressure situation that we kind of don't know what to expect from teams who haven't had that experience of playing in those competitive games. We talk about somebody like the Mustangs, who really have only had competition when it comes up against St. Louis Scott Gallagher. And so now, as they progress on in the Nationals, if they go to the tournament, it's going to be really interesting, because we can see how good are they, because insanely talented roster. They have definitely got the capabilities to score goals. But when it comes to playing against these teams that are also really good at doing that and have much more solid defense, are they going to be able to put as many goals past them? It remains to be seen, and I'm excited for it. Moving on over into that Southwest division, they are still playing. There is a very intense battle. The San Antonio Athenians have taken the top spot of the division because they played their final game last night. So the Athenians played against Luxoria and won 2-0. And so they've taken that top spot, tied on points with second place FC Austin Elite, who have a game in hand. So FC Austin Elite are playing tonight against the Central Texas Hornets, who are sat at 6th place, so bottom of that Southwest division. So from the perspective of the Elite, this is probably the matchup that they would want to have going into that final game of the season, where they must secure 3 points, or even a draw would be enough for FC Austin Elite to take that top spot and be crowned regular season champions. And they would then be representing that Southwest division in the playoffs. So Southwest division still playing. It's in the hands of FC Austin Elite. San Antonio Athenians have taken care of business. They've done what they needed to do, and we'll see tonight what happens with that result. You've also had some really good performances, though, from Luxoria, some really good performances from Wilco, and San Antonio runners have come into the season. Super fun to see that San Antonio Riverwalk rivalry. I tried to say it and I succeeded. Love that. And then CTX Hornets too. They're the team that is based off of Watford. So of course I'm going to love the CTX Hornets. But yes, stay tuned for the Southwest Division, because we have the regular season champions to come based on this game tonight for the FC Austin Elite. And finally, the last conference we have is over in the West Coast. So the West Conference, what a division. I mean, we all know how high the quality and the competition is of that West Division. Kayla, Katie, Jonathan, and our eyes have just been like this, looking over on that West Conference to see what's going on, who's playing who, how are these new teams doing in FC Arizona, LASC, how are they competing? Like, there's so much going on. But we have our regular season champions. It's Calgary Foothills. They've got a perfect 10-0 record. They've secured their ticket to the national champions because the West Division gets an automatic berth. Whoever wins that division will be in the national championship. So that's crazy. They have had an insane season, 27 points, 26 goals for, 7 goals against. They've had some close matchups, but what a team to watch. I mean, they have just been so competitive. I love the fact that they're a physical team that can possess the ball. That makes them just so much fun to watch. So if you haven't caught a game yet for Calgary, that's a team that you want to be watching in that national championship. And they are done with their season right now because of their regular season. They've claimed the title. Regular season is finished for them. They've got no games left, although there is some other teams within that conference. You know, FC Arizona have only played 7 games so far. So you've still got those West Division matchups to watch. It's just they're not in contention for taking that title. Nevertheless, those matchups are going to be interesting, and you can catch them on 11 Sports, high-quality games in the West Conference for sure. But Calgary has some time now to prepare for that national championship. So that's another factor that's going to be very interesting, because what are they going to be able to do with these couple of weeks that they haven't got matches? Does that play as an advantage because they can rest, they can get on the training ground, they can make all the preparations and get in all that recovery? Or is that a disadvantage because they are now going to go 2 weeks without playing competitive matches, and maybe they need to be constantly in those competitive games to keep that momentum, which they've obviously built. They have some solid momentum, having won 10 games in a row. Are they going to lose that momentum? Remains to be seen. But like I say, the road to the United Women's Soccer National Championship is well underway. Calgary have already booked their tickets, and teams are playing right now to try and book their tickets. So let's talk playoffs for a little bit, and I'm pretty sure my guest will be joining me very, very soon. So don't go anywhere, because we have a really awesome interview coming up later on in the show. So let's speak about this South Conference. So the Southeast Championship semifinal was played on Thursday, July 7th at 8 p.m. Atlanta Fire took on FC Birmingham, because Atlanta Panthers already had a bye for that division championship game. So Atlanta Fire took down FC Birmingham 10 goals to 0. A little bit of a one-sided game. We don't tend to like to see those when it comes to the playoffs, but it happens. FC Birmingham are a new team. They're just finding their feet, and I'm excited for their future. And this is great for them to be able to get the exposure and the experience this year. But that means that our Southeast Division Championship is set. The Atlanta Fire will take on Atlanta Panthers. For the 3rd time this season, we've got an Atlanta rivalry on Sunday, July 10th at 6 p.m. So if you're able to get to that game in Atlanta, make sure you do. If not, 11 Sports will have it on for you. So you can definitely tune into that. And whoever wins that game between the Atlanta Fire and the Atlanta Panthers will be playing against the winner of the Southwest Championship. So whoever is representing, whether that's FC Austin Elite or it's the San Antonio Athenians, they will take on the winner of the game on Sunday. In the Central Conference, their playoffs are well underway, with Corktown AFC taking down Nationals FC on Thursday, July 7th. The score was 4 goals to 1. So Corktown AFC winning that one. Then the Midwest Division Championship, we had Chicago Mustangs and St. Louis Scott Gallagher kicking off almost at the same time, and the Mustangs came out on top 3 goals to 1. So now we've got the Central Conference semifinal matchup set. And that game is kicking off tonight at 7 p.m. Chicago Mustangs versus Corktown AFC. And whoever wins that game will be taking on the Heartland Division champions, KC Courage, next weekend. So that one's going to be very interesting too. The East Conference is still finishing out. And like I said, the West Conference, while it's still finishing out, we have and they my apologies for the technical difficulties there. I think we're all back now. But yes, speaking of Calgary Foothills, I am now joined by my guest, Maya. Hello. Thank you so much for
Hi.
joining me.
Can you hear me? Am I good?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay.
Awesome. We had a little technical difficulties, but we are back. We are live.
Perfect.
I am joined by Calgary Foothills midfielder Maya Jones. How are you doing today?
I'm really good, Megan. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm hosting the show by myself today, so it's been an
Okay.
interesting one. Usually we have up to 4 hosts, but
Oh,
we've
wow.
got Jonathan and Kayla on vacation, and Katie is off on a work gig in Austin, Texas. So just me today. So I'm really
You're doing
appreciative of
great.
you joining us.
You're doing great.
So I've just been recapping all of the playoff action. And now for Calgary, it's a little bit more interesting because you guys have that automatic bid of
Mm,
whoever wins the West Conference goes straight to nationals. Now, knowing that going into the season, how does that change things for the team? Because each game is important. There's no playoff structure afterwards.
mm.
Every game is a must win to secure the division and secure that spot.
Yeah. Well, honestly, it's always been like this since I've played with this team. So, like, every year we just treat it like a must win. Every year we treat it like we need to win the league. So I don't think it's really changed anything for us. I think it almost fosters a more competitive environment every single time we walk out into the field because we're like, we know we need to win every single game. And honestly, it's been great because this season we went along and won every game.
Yeah,
So
that makes sense.
yeah. Mm.
Yeah, I mean, it's been an absolute joy to watch your team. Each week, I know that the pressure kind of increases because, yeah, you're like looking back, like we won that one, and now we've got to go and do it again. And everybody's thinking, who's going to cause the upset? Who's going to beat them? Can they hold on? And you guys have done it. What do
Yeah.
you think has been the key for you guys this year to get that perfect 10-0 record?
Honestly, just the environment of the team is what's kind of caused that this year. Like we are so connected and I think we're so positive. Um, and like every single day it's just like a good competitive practice and I think we're just bringing that to the field. And yeah, it's just a very good group of girls. So, and then Lee has done fantastic as well in coaching us. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Being surrounded by players and then having a leader that understands you
Mm,
and is able to harness that chemistry that you already have
yeah,
is key to being able to see out wins in every single match.
of course. Of course.
And tell us a little bit of how like you guys have coped with that pressure of maintaining the perfect record. Do you do something like outside of soccer to keep kind of team morale high and make sure everybody's not just soccer is everything, or how do you guys cope with the pressure?
Honestly, like we just hang out like we're regular friends. Like we don't really I don't think we really put a lot of pressure on ourselves to maintain that record, to maintain um that status. I think it's more so just been like if we can do it, we can do it and like that's fantastic. So I think that has actually made the biggest difference is not putting pressure on ourselves, and that's just allowed us to have fun. And that's the biggest thing. Like going into every single game, we're like, let's just have fun. And then off the fields, like a few of us, we just go, we hang out, and yeah, we kind of separate our lives from soccer and just like being friends. So it's very good.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
Now, we have to talk about this. I'm sure you probably knew it was going to come up.
Move.
You took down the reigning UWS national champions,
Yeah.
not once, but twice.
Yes, we did.
So the first time it was Calgary Foothills who were traveling to Santa Clarita and you beat
Mm,
them 1-0. And
yeah.
then you welcomed Blue Heat into Canada and you beat them 3-2.
Yeah.
Now, what was it like going into that second game, knowing you'd already beaten them and that they were going to be hungry to take it to you that second time?
Yeah, the second game was that was probably the biggest, like, pressure game this season because we were like, we just went and beat them at home. That was the first time we've ever done that, by the way. Like, I've played for this team forever, and we've never been successful in doing that, so it was very exciting. Um, but yeah, we knew that they were gonna, like, they wanted to win that second game. There was no way they were gonna come out slow. They came out super fast. It was a great game. But, I think we just, like, kinda took it as a challenge. Like, we were like, "Okay, like, we've already done it, let's do it again." So, that's kinda how we took it, and it worked out. I think we played even better the second game than we did the first game. So, yeah.
I would agree with that. I think you had like those final pieces coming together more in that second matchup.
Okay.
But both games were epic. As a fan to watch them, I loved it. And what I want to know as well is that weekend you also played FC Arizona the next day.
Yeah.
So after playing a 3-2 battle with the reigning national champions, where your bodies were pushed to the limit, you then turned around and had to play FC Arizona. How was that in terms of preparation in the week, knowing that you had two huge games back to back, and then also preparation physically to turn around and play again?
Yeah, it was that's the first time I've ever done that, and it was really hard, like, it was really difficult, but I think just, like, leading up to that, we were, like, very much focusing on, like, just keeping practice light because we knew it was coming that weekend, and just, like, getting rest, doing whatever we needed for our bodies first off, and then, it was kinda hard to prepare for both games because it was like, we have one and then one the next day, we couldn't practice in between or anything, so we kinda just, we kept it general. We were just like, "Let's just go out there and, like, do what we can do." And, um, Lee was very good at just, like, maintaining us in terms of, like, having everybody on the field. Like, we have a ton of fantastic subs, so it worked out. It was fine. It was hard on our bodies, but, we got the win, and that's all that matters. But the second game was definitely very difficult. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I am sure. And we've actually had a question come in from the audience. This is from one of my co-hosts of another show that I do. So this is Holly Ford from Our Cup of Tea. She said, "Do you find it more gratifying to play against difficult competition with a risk of losing, or playing against softer teams that can help build a win streak and confidence?"
Definitely the first. Yeah, play against difficult competition with risk of losing, for sure. I think that's more so, like, playing against, like, Santa Clarita and having that beating them twice, like, that was very gratifying because, obviously, we haven't done that because 'cause they're a fantastic team. So, that's definitely, that definitely is better in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree. And let's talk on that a little bit because I mentioned earlier on in the show, I had a little discussion with myself about
Okay.
whether SC Blue Heat were hindered by their talented roster being like almost separated because of international duty. So, how did the team look in comparison from that first game to the second game? Did you notice a difference in their roster? Because they do have a lot of talented players who were called up to represent their national team.
Yeah, they definitely, were missing quite a few people in that second game, due to international duty, and, you could tell, but they still have some fantastic players that were obviously not invited, and they maintained their style of play in that game. Maybe they were missing a few attacking threats, but for the most part, they were still very solid, but, I think, like, definitely, like, the Thompsons were gone and, some major attacking threats for sure, but like I said, they're still a great team with or without some of those players, so
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that their roster is talented all round.
Mm,
The biggest factor that I kind of was discussing is that potentially when you've got players going off in international duty, and I know Foothills have players too, so
mm,
you'll be experiencing it also that maybe at training you can't quite do the things that you're anticipating to
yeah,
do at that point because oh now we have to do 9v9 or now we have to do 10v10 because we've got a few players out injured and a few players out on injury sorry a few players out on international duty
yeah.
and so it just changes the dynamic.
Definitely. Well, it's especially in a summer league of this sort is that people are constantly just coming in and out through because like I myself, I'm back at school right now, so I'm not able to train with the team before we head out there. So there's just a lot of moving pieces for sure in a summer league, and that's why I credit the coaches for doing what they do because it's very difficult to constantly like keep building chemistry in the team because people are leaving, people are coming in, people are going away to international duty. So it's definitely very difficult. So yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting that you are now back at college and not with the team. So, how is that kind of for you to prepare for the national championship?
I think honestly, it's not too bad because I had a very long time to play with foothills, and we were training. Like I know the team very well, and so I'm not worried about that. But I have to come back to school to start my summer like running and workouts, and that's obviously mandatory. So I'm definitely going to be fit and ready to go, which I'm not concerned about. And it's only a few weeks away, so I think we'll be okay. I think we'll be
Yeah,
okay.
I think so too. And
Yeah.
what is the mood like at Calgary Foothills with the fact that your season kind of gets this little break before the national championship? Do
Yeah.
you view that as an advantage, or do you kind of wish that you maybe had some games to prepare leading up to the championship?
Honestly, I kinda see it as an advantage because 'cause we've been going, like, nonstop for, like, 2 months, and it's hard. So, I think, like, just having that little break, like, obviously, they're still training lots, so they're still getting that in, and I know, like, Tux will probably set up, a few, like, friendly matches of some sort, like, I think it'll be okay, and we just played Arizona a few days ago, so it'll be, like, a few weeks off, but I think everything will be okay. Yeah.
I think so too.
Mhm.
And Holly has asked another question. She said, do you think you've taken anything from this season that will help you in college?
Yeah, that's a good question. Most definitely. I think for myself, this season always prepares me in terms of my confidence because I just go and I try and be as much of an attacking threat that I can be. This is definitely like I've scored more goals this past UWS season than I've ever scored in UWS. So I think um, it's definitely just a confidence booster and shows me what I can do, and then I try and bring this into my college team. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And how many goals do you have? I want to say like 6 or 7. Is it more than that now?
I think it's 6. Yeah, I
Six.
think it's 6.
Yeah, that I mean that's solid, especially given the competition that you're playing against. To find that momentum is
Yeah.
going to be awesome to take that into your college season because often that's the piece that players are missing right when you start college. You're like, I'm super fit and I'm so hungry, I'm ready to play
Mhm.
because I'm just excited to be here and to be back with my teammates. But that final piece is missing, and what the summer of soccer is what we like to call it provides players is that awesome opportunity to create momentum going into the college
Exactly. That's a
season.
great word for it is momentum. Like, I feel like going into it, like, I've been playing, I'm in form, so that's, like it's hard to keep in form when you're not playing, so it gives a good opportunity for players like myself in college to maintain this form throughout the year.
Exactly. I completely agree.
Mhm.
Now, I'm not sure how much you and the Calgary Foothills team have been looking at other results across the country, but here's my hot take question for you. Is there a team at nationals that you are like, I really want to face them? Or a team that you're like, we don't want to play them?
Honestly, we'll play anybody. I think we're ready to play anybody. I for the most part, have not been keeping up with, other leagues, and I kinda do that on purpose, just so I'm focusing on us. Because at the end of the day, like, we can only do what we do, right?
Right.
So, we kinda just stay away from looking at other scores for the most part, but, yeah, we're ready to play anybody, so
All right, you heard it here first, people. Calgary Foothills, Maya Jones, they're ready to play anybody.
Yeah,
National championship is coming up. It's gonna be epic. Thank you so much for joining me, Maya. My final
thank you.
question for you, we've touched on it a little bit, but what does it mean to you to be able to play with Calgary Foothills and to play in the UWS?
What does it mean? That's a hard question, Megan. You know what? It's just a great opportunity. I love doing it every single year. Like I look forward to doing it. So, yeah, it's a great league. It's that's all I can really say. And I thank my coaches for letting me do it. And yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me today, Maya. If anybody wants to follow you and your journey, you're an awesome player. How can they do that?
You can follow me through my college on our website, or you can follow me on Instagram. But yeah, I can put it. Can I put it in somewhere, or should I just say it?
Let you say it. I'll put it in.
Okay, Maya.Jones8. Actually, it's definitely 9. Maya.Jones9.
And then,
Yeah,
boom.
you can find my Twitter in there as well. So yeah.
Awesome. So make sure you follow Maya. She's going to be epic this season with Memphis. Am I right? Memphis?
Yes, Memphis.
Yes, perfect.
Cool.
And then, of course, we've got that national championship coming up. Maya, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks so much, Megan. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Bye. All right. So that was Maya Jones of Calgary Foothills. How awesome is it to have her on the show? Get that hot take about Calgary Foothills ready to play anybody. So we will see who else will be joining them in that national championship. Some other key matchups we've got this weekend is Lancaster Inferno versus Coppermine, that rematch on Sunday. You've got New England Mutiny versus Albany Rush tonight at 7 p.m. Pittsburgh Hotspurs and FC Buffalo also playing tonight at 7. Rochester Lancers and Erie playing on Sunday at 2 p.m. and FC Austin Elite versus CTX Hornets on Saturday tonight, 7:30 p.m. Those are the big matchups for me. You can find all of the UWS games on uwssoccer.com. Everything is going to be streamed on 11. Make sure you're tweeting about it. Tag me in any awesome goals you see. You know I want to see them. And thank you so much for joining me this morning. I hope you enjoy Match Week 9, and I hope you feel prepared for all the awesome soccer that we have leading up to the national championship, which is going to be coming up in just 2 weeks. Have a good one, friends.
I'm a part of UWS because of the opportunity it provides women.
Because it provided me the competition and exposure I needed to get to where I am today.
Because financial transparency is important to me.
Because at its core and within its leadership, it is truly dedicated to the promotion of the women's game.
Because of the competitive pathway it provides female players and coaches.
Because it expands the pathway of our club and offers more opportunities for players to develop.
Because I too support women in sports.
Because of the people. I love competing at a high level with some awesome teammates and getting to compete against people around the country.
Because it provides female athletes with a much needed platform to remain in the game in a professional setting.
Because it's the best summer league in the whole country. There's no question about it.
Because of the commitment to diversity for the players, coaches, and administrators of the UWS.
Because I like the opportunity to compete at such a high level and the advancement of the women's game.
I am a part of UWS because I believe in its vision and its leadership.